Hey everybody, welcome to a Sunday edition anyway, of, we're going to do a tips and tricks today with Filemaker. Obviously I'm using Filemaker Pro Advanced 14, so, and you guys have seen this, you guys have seen my system and all that neat stuff, but I really wanted to go through, I keep getting some questions, and some of those questions are very, they're very repetitive. You know, why am I having this issue? What's not working? And why is my script not working? Why is, these things? So I'm going to go over just a couple of things really super quick. And I don't know, maybe half an hour video. So it's not going to be a long video. It's going to be a pretty short video. This is my system that I've developed, and you guys have kind of seen me walk through this and build it through all this time. We know that these numbers right here are the invoice numbers that we have. One of the things that we did do just recently was, one of the things I did just recently was I rewrote or redid my clock in, clock out. And the reason why is because it has data that goes on 4 different fields, so that if I am, and I'm just going to come into my system here, but if I go to my, I decided to separate these. So if you guys didn't see this, this is brand spanking new prize. We're going, oh my goodness, what did he do? What I did was I switched everything up. See, what I did was I just moved them apart from each other so I could add like a little description of what each one of them is. And we have, like, on the user data, we actually have these windows that will show you, it'll bring up a window and it'll show you the time cards. So this is one of those that has it. We also have a time card deal where you have these people and you can look at their time cards and see what's going on with their time cards. So we have a lot of information that we have to put on a lot of different pages. So it kind of creates a situation where you're going, what in the world are you doing? Oh my God. But in this situation, we had a script trigger that was, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about autonomous script triggers. You can do autonomous script triggers. You can say, you can set, you can go into your database, and we'll just do that really quick. But if you go into your database and you find like this trigger thingy, you can tell it to do something. You can tell it to activate if another script or if something happens, right? So if you had trigger 1 and you had trigger 2, you could say that you want trigger 1 to only activate when trigger 1 has something in it that trigger 2 would create something, it would do something, right? So you'd have to have 2 pieces to that puzzle, and then you could create an autonomous trigger that would make a script run in the background where you don't have to mess with it. The other thing that you could do is you can create a script inside of a script, and that's kind of where we're going to go right now, and I'm going to show you how we do that. But one of the more interesting parts to this is that in this clock in, clock out thing, I made a lot of different changes. So if you guys haven't seen my previous videos, do make sure that you watch those previous videos. And I'm going to show you really quick just what we did to this new one. So we're just going to go through it really super quick. And I'm going to use mine because I can. And the clock in, clock out feature. And so if you press F6, it goes through these, right? It goes through all the different things that we do. So if it's empty, the security box. So if this box is empty, then it's going to show a custom dialog, but it's not, so we don't have to worry about that. Then we're going to set what's called the pay date, which is this little number down here that you guys can probably just barely see. It's supposed to be just barely visible on mine because I don't really want people to see it. But so it's going to set a pay date, set some variables, the pass variable. I'm going to make sure that this is well within your view so you guys can see it. Then we're going to clear out the security box and we're going to freeze the window. Then we're going to go to our user database, which is, in this case, what you're going to see is nothing because I have all of those the data turned off unless there is a fill, and we're going to go through that in a minute as well. But so it's going to set some things, it's going to perform a find, it's going to look for this particular individual, and then it's going to say if this is empty, if this person doesn't exist, then you want to go back, you want to, so if it's empty, the current data number, go to layout, time records each, new record request. This particular one says if this current date or payroll date or whatever is empty, what does it say? Current number, so it would be the current date is empty, blah, 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 blah. Go do all this other stuff. But the more interesting part that we're looking for is when we get to the end. So we set up some variables. We set the field present, which would be the current date, which is right here. And then we set the variable. So today being this current date, user 1, user 2, that's first name, last name, the pay, which would be like how much, whatever the hourly wages if you wanted to set it. So what it's doing is it's creating a new file, is what it's getting ready to create a new file. And then it says if the user database, so if this number over here is if this number is greater than this number. Now we had to have both fields in there. So it says if the current date is greater than the pay date. So what we're doing is we're setting an end date. We're saying on the 27th is the end date. Today's the 14th. So if it is greater than, then we're going to create a different file, right? We're going to create a different one because we want to keep those hourly records or those time cards within a specific date range. And that's what we're doing, is we're keeping them within a specific date range. And we're just going to F6 and go through there. And then, as you can see, it isn't. So it's going to skip all of that data. And if you guys want to see that, I will let you. But it is giant. It is huge. The entire script itself. I'm going to move this over so you guys can see it. But the entire script itself takes up a giant sum of space. We're talking 73 lines of script. 73 lines of script. So we're here. What it did is, this is the end if part. So it says if, go to layout. Okay, so this is the one that says we're going to set all the variables. Here's our if statement, the one that says if we're on the other side of our pay date. So, if we're outside of that pay date, then create a new record. It's going to set all these variables. It's going to create a new record, go to layout, employee logs. And so this is where it becomes very, very complicated, because you literally have several different pages that you have to put information on. And you have to grab that information and move it from page to page to page. Does that make sense? So we're setting all of those records, creating a new record. And here is where we're going to create a new record for our employee logs. That was the one you guys saw where there was 3 people and the little script trigger thingy was supposed to happen. And because it says here, set the script trigger, or set this trigger at 1, which is supposed to start the domino effect and create the trigger that makes a script happen. And the script is actually, it just tells it to go somewhere, grab some information, come back and put it on that page. That's all that script trigger does. I have since gotten rid of that script trigger because I don't really need it. I've decided to just put a button there and just tell it with that button to go to the timesheet, grab the data that I want, and bring it back to that page using that number that I have, which is the file number. Then we're going to go to our time records page, and we're going to create a new record, and we're going to put in all the information. How much does this person get paid? We're going to put in our payroll ending date. So if it's a brand new record, we're going to say this is the end date, and we're going to set that date on our record so that we know that that's what it is, right? Set our first name, our last name, and then in this particular instance, what I did was I created, because there's a portal there is a portal inside of there, and I know this is a tips and tricks thing, and I apologize if I get a little bit too deep, because I don't mean to, and there's a lot of information that I want to go through, so please just bear with me. But there's a portal inside. So these two are joined together, right? Time records and timesheets, whatever, they're joined together to each other. And one of them is inside of a portal row or inside of a portal. And so in order to get all the information in there, what was happening was I was having to say, well, go to this portal row, go to that portal row, do this, do that, if, and but I said, you know what, I'm done with that. I was just done with that. So what I did was I created a separate trigger mechanism. And you'll see how that works actually at the end. So after, what it's going to do is it's going to fill in the start date, like today's date basically, and the start time. So it's going to say, okay, this person on this day clocked in at this time. That's all that does. And then we'll go to the end if. Now we've got to go back through our F6. So we're going to set a variable, and that is the record number. Now we had to wait to set that record number until the end, because if all that other stuff happened, then the record number would change, right? So we needed to make sure that we waited till after the if to set that variable. Then we're going to go to our record layout, and that is, and I'm going to show you guys, because this is the layout of the record, time records each. And this is it. And I'm just going to kind of move this over here just a little bit. I do apologize if you guys can't see it or see some of it, but it's okay. But down here, you cannot see them, but there are actually fields here. And so when we click this again, F6, it's going to set the time record's record number. So what it's doing is it's searching. It should be searching for, let's see, what does it say? Set variable, enter find mode. So it's going to enter the find mode. Now it's going to set the field. Now I want you to know for a fact that this is what happens if you did not. This is one of those things that most of you need to know. If you have a box like this, or you have a solution like this, or you have a layout like this, clear, I can't say this enough, clear all your tab orders. Do not have a tab order, because if you enter find mode on that page, it will go straight to that #1 tab order and it won't move. You'll literally have to tell it, go to field, and then set the field. So you'll have to say, go to this field, then set the field. If you have a tab order in your solution on that page that you went to and you're trying to perform a find. I hope I've made that clear. Clear those tab orders. 9 out of 10 times you don't need a tab order anyway. And they're really super easy. You would just go, let me get rid of that PSN thingy, but you would just go into here when you're on your deal, and it's under, as a matter of fact, I'll show you a tab order in just a few minutes. Let's get through this script really fast, because you can get off on tangents so crazy with this. But so we're now going to set a field, and this is where we are. We're set field, time records, record number, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. F6, where am I at? Click on this. Okay, F6. I obviously clicked off of it, so it stopped working. We're going to set our capture, and notice I set this field. So we're going to set the error capture on. I do that just because I don't want the script to stop. I want it to continue going. So setting the error capture on, it won't stop. It'll just keep going. And then we're going to perform the find. I'm going to move this so that you guys can kind of read it. Then we're going to perform the find. Now it will populate all of the data. Now remember, once you perform a find, that record is the only record that's open. You've opened that record. Now, if you have 3 or 4 people that are performing finds on the exact same page, then it will change. The data will change. So that's the reason why, like when we did our inventory, you guys remember when we did our inventory? We have 3 inventories. We have inventory, they're all the same. They're all based on, we have the base inventory, inventory register 1, inventory register 2, inventory register 3. We did that so that if they, on that page, it doesn't matter about the records, it matters about the actual layout. So if people are doing a search on a very specific layout, it's going to go to that record. And so we didn't want that to change. I hope this is making sense to you. USA Refurb, hi, how are you? So good to see you. I'm just going through some real quick tips and tricks. I've got a lot to go through, and I'm running off on wild tangents, but we are going through our time record script. So we're going to set the field time record, and this one is comparison date or comp date. And we're going to set the current date, and that's down here. And you'll see it happen. And then we're going to set, if is empty, time records, temp date. So we've got a comp date and a temp date. And you'll watch. It'll come up. Here it just came up. And now it's going to set our start time. So we are just now logging into the system, as you can tell. So if we do this, it will log in. It put a number down here for us to log in. And then it's going to stop the script. And it's going to take us back to our page and halt the script. But if we take this and we do it again, now you guys will see the other side, the other part of it, right? So we'll do 1911, that's my number. And we'll clock out. And we'll go through this really quick. And this time with a lot less explanation as we go through. It's looking for me on the user data file. And you guys know that we set the user data file as a security weapon or as a security file so that we could say, yes, you have access, or no, you don't have access. So it's going to go through. It says, all right, well, you already have a file that's existing, so we don't have to go through that. But now it's going to go to our, as you can tell, it's going to go to our time card. It's going to search for me, set the error capture on, perform find. Well, it found me. Now it's going to say, and as we get down here, and you'll see it says right here, perform script. Perform script. See that? So now it's going to say, if is empty, the time records, but it's not. So it's going to skip that. And it's going to go to the end if, and then it's going to say, if it's not empty, time records temp date, set field time record, temp time, get current time. So it's going to set the ending time. So on this date, I showed up at this time, and now I'm going to log out at this time. So it's going to go ahead and set that, as you just saw it did. But now it's going to perform another script. Another tip and trick. This is a big one. This is a big one, guys. If you're going to do a perform script, this is what happens when you do a perform script. Bam! It just went to that script. So if you're writing a script and you say perform script, it better be a part of that script. It better work with that script. So with this one, what I did was I made this one an extension of the other script. If I didn't write halt script here, it would go back to the original script, and then it would do what it says, but it'll perform it in series. So it'll perform it'd be the exact same thing as if I literally sat down and wrote every line of this inside of that. Does that make sense? So in this particular script, what it's telling us is that it's taking this data and it's saying, if our comparison date is not equal to our today's date, which means if somebody logged into the time clock but they didn't log out of the time clock, what will happen is all of this data will be filled in, but these two dates won't correlate with each other. And so it'll take that, divide the information that it has, put it on the thing, and then it's going to tell us, it'll send us a message and say, hey, this person didn't log out, right? But so it's going to go through all of the data. It's going to take it, empty it, put it onto our system, and go back. I just made it as an extension of my first script so that it would just do it. But if we went into that script, if I actually went into the script itself, and I brought it over here, and I look at it this way, I come down here, it says perform script, go to layout, entry page, and if halt script. So I did add the go to layout entry page and the halt script to this page. And if I was in my other script, do you remember the script, this trigger script? It's the trigger pay. If I was to get rid of the halt script at the end, then it would just come right back. It would perform the script here, and then it would come right back to this. So if you do have one that's in the middle, so if you're up here and you have a perform script, you better not have a halt script in that script, in that little perform script or subscript as we would call it. So if you have a perform script, which is a subscript, and you have a halt script in that subscript, it will stop right there, and none of the rest of your script will be worth a dang thing. Okay, so we did that. We've now covered, excuse me, I'm a little dry today, but so we've covered that you should not set up an autonomous trigger, but you can set up an autonomous trigger, and I showed you guys how to do that. It's pretty simple. You'd basically just go in to manage your database, and you'd set up a button, or you'd set two fields, one that operates off of the other, and then when the second one, you'd have to set up a script trigger on the second one. And so if one becomes populated with something, it will populate the second field with a number or with something. And then that number, which will be a positive variable, will start the script trigger to happen. But if you do it with just one button, it won't actually work. Or just one field, it won't actually work. So you guys know that. One thing that I also found that I want you guys to know about is creating a global field. Creating a global field. So if you have, how can I best display this? If you go into my database and we go into, I believe it's an admin. Nope, it's not. It's in one of these darn ones. Maybe it's time cards. Nope. Where the heck are you? Maybe it's in inventory. It is in inventory. So an admin pass, and I set it as a global. So how you do that is if you double click on it and you go into this storage, you go into the storage side, you can set it as a global variable, or you can set it as global storage, not as a variable, but as global storage. And what that does for you is if the admin pass, basically what it does for me is if I go to a field or I go to a layout and I populate that field with something, I don't have to create a loop script that will fill all of the fields and will empty all of the fields. And let me show you how that works on something really fast so that we don't get too involved in this. And I did it actually on my user data. So on the user data, I know you guys can't see this, but the field, cancel. What are you doing? There's nothing there. Okay. So that one, there should have been a, because did you notice how it's just stopped? It just, because this field is actually a button, the whole field. So if I push this button, there's nothing in the field. So what I should have done was, if you guys can't see, but there's like a little black box up here, and this box is called pass to. And then down here, you'll see it says user pass to, and what I will do is I will lighten these up. I'm going to make them bright yellow just for you guys. Just for you guys and just for today. So if I take off, if I exit the layout and I go to any record. So in this record, you'll see my name is at the bottom and this number is 15, and any other one, they're all the same. Every single record, this is the same number and my name is still there. That's because these two fields are global storage fields. So when I'm on this record, when I'm on this page, now these are very separate. Don't forget, this is very separate. So if an employee or someone else was to end up on this page, they'd have to be on the page at the exact same time I'm on the page. Because the minute I leave the page, I set those fields at blank, right? Because that's what this admin button does, is it sets them to blank. So they don't exist anymore on that field or on that area. But in the back office one, we actually didn't set them as globals because we wanted to be able to manipulate each record. We wanted to say, if this record says admin, we don't want it to show up because we don't want admin access, if that makes any sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and do some edit layout stuff, and I'm going to go into this button setup. And it says set the variable, new window, blah, 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 blah. Now, it should have said, I'm going to tell you right straight up, it should have said, if is empty. If is empty. That's how it should have started. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go ahead and push if. And I'm going to put it up here. And I'm going to say, if is empty. Which one is this? This is the user database last record. Last record, there it is. I just drew a blank. So if is empty, we'll just type in is empty. Last record. Then we'll just tell it to halt the script. So that way we're not, because did you notice when I touched it how it said, oh, can't do the find. And I have to do the same thing for this one too. And the good thing is you guys kind of get to see these scripts really quick, right? They're really, really simple. It just basically says, set a variable. Well, it's going to say if, but if is empty, you know, don't do it. But if not, then set the variable, create a new window, go to what I want to look at, and see how it says new window, and then go to layout. So it's, once you open a new window, it's going to, everything else that you have inside that script is going to apply to that new window. So you're going to say open a new window and then everything in there. Does that make sense? So then enter find mode, and we'll look for the record and perform, and then halt the script. And then you physically have to close the window. Unless you wanted to, you could do what's called pause the script for 10 seconds or 15 seconds and then close window. You could do that if you really wanted to. I do not. But we're going to go ahead and do this one really quick while I'm thinking about it, because that's something that I did not do. And this one will be the current number. Okay. And we'll say, okay. Get rid of that. All right. So now you can see where the global fields come in handy. The global fields really come in handy if you're in a situation like this, where this is my page. No one else gets to be here. This is an admin only page. And it only operates from, like, if I push this button, and I'll just show you guys really quick what this script says. So this script basically says, if is empty, use your data pass, take me to the security breach. It says, oh, you guys messed up. But if not, then it's going to set the data, the pass to blank. And it's going to set a variable, my name. And then it's going to set my name to blank. It's going to blank it out. Going to take me back to the admin window. And then it's going to fill, it's going to populate that window. So what this little tiny script is doing is it's saying, okay, Tim, you're on this page, but, oh, you're going to leave the page, so let's grab your name. Let's clear the rest of the data, take you back to the page you want to be on, and put your name back in there. Now, what that does for me is my name follows me every time I push a button, right? It'll clear it and then populate it. Clear it and populate it. That way, if I'm not on a page and someone accidentally gets on that page, they can't do anything. They're not allowed to use anything unless that is there. Like in this particular case, as you guys can see, all these little eyeballs, it says, all these little eyeballs basically say is that hide this window if this is empty. So if pass 2 is empty, hide all the data. So when you get there, you see nothing. So we'll just go ahead and call that good, and let's exit this layout and get back to what we were talking about. Okay, so another thing we were talking about is always, 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 if you're going to run a secure operation, if you're going to run a secure file or secure solution, always be sure that you move the data. Remember to move and clear data. Like you just saw me do, you have to go in and clear the data so that when someone else gets there, they can't do anything. There's nothing they can do, because every script, like whenever I do like let's just do like this one, right? This one says this, for instance, this script, and we're just going to go into the script, just the first couple of seconds of this script, right? If is empty, add inventory, show custom dialog. If is empty, code bot. If is empty, code bot. So if there's nothing in this code bot, bam, I'm out of there. I can't make any changes to anything. I can't do anything with this page. So if I accidentally end up on the page, let's say I'm just a user and I accidentally end up on this page, can't do anything, it's safe and secure. And that's a big deal if you're a small business and you want to keep things safe and secure. And the cool thing is, with the page that I built, the user data file, is you can change those, as you saw in previous videos, you can change your code numbers instantaneously. Just like the click in your fingers. You can just change your code numbers instantaneously, and you're safe and secure, so you don't ever have to worry about that. Now, on this particular page, I also did an arrivals thing, so I can see what arrivals came in. So I know, like, in January, I've got it broken down into months. So it'll show me in January the product code, the product name, what did I receive, what was the wholesale cost of that, what date did I receive it, and what was the barcode number. Pretty simple, right? It's giving me some information. And as you saw, that script didn't work, and what happened is I ended up right on the security vault. The reason why that script didn't work is because my information didn't follow it, right? So if we go back into this page and we go into the script, we see it says CodeBot, username admin. I think the deal is that this CodeBot is probably wrong, but there is this one, and this one. And I added these all for different users. So this one, the data is verify user. This one is I called verify admin, and this one I called verify man, which is management. So this script is, I'm obviously going to have to fix this script because it doesn't recognize that I'm actually in here. And so if I go in and look at the script GT bulk in, what I could do is I could just tell it to open a window, right? And then I wouldn't have to do anything. I wouldn't have to do any of this stuff. But this one just says, if is empty CodeBot, go to menu entry page. Well, that wasn't the fact, was it? So what it did was it set a variable username admin, which is what it should have did, what it should have done. Then it was to clear my name, set the field CodeBot, set the field admin. So it cleared all that stuff out, went to inventory, set the field verify to my name. Inventory reporting verify. And then we sorted the records by their month. Go to the first record. Wonder why that didn't work. Inventory verify. I guess let's go find out really quick what is on that page. So there should be, and we can't see it, but there it is. There it is right there. It's verify. So this one is a verify. Report verify, and this is the verify admin. And this back button, I remember doing this. I didn't set this back button to check both things. It says if is empty, verify admin. And that particular script was saying to put me in a different field, and that's the reason why we're having the mess up. Okay, so we got that. No big deal. We can change that. We'll have to go back and change it on the other one so that it verify admin because this page is set up for 2 different people to use. And that's why there's 2 different ones. Verify man, which is verify management, and verify admin, which is verify admin. So if I'm on the page, my management can be on the page because I'm just going to duplicate it, and it'll verify either or. So that's kind of a big deal. So we'll just go ahead and say okay, because I don't want to make those changes right now. We'll just back. We know we're going to be sent here. That was kind of a big thing. Okay, so we now know that you have to keep track of all of that information. You have to keep track of all of those scripts, and you have to make sure that you separate all that stuff. And I'm not trying to complicate things. I swear, I'm not trying to complicate things. Tips and tricks and super secret things. That's what we're going for. Another thing I wanted to talk about really, really quick is always be sure to move data in a file, and always be sure to use the if is empty, because if is empty works really super well with FileMaker 14 or with the FileMaker program. If is empty, or if not is empty, that works out really super well instead of saying if is equal to. Because a lot of times you'll find out that if you say if it is equal to this, or if it is greater than or less than or whatever, or use any other variable, that a lot of times it messes up. It doesn't really see things the same way that we see them. Like dates is really hard. But the cool thing is like, as you guys saw in my my timekeeping thing, is what I did is I used 2 dates, 1 box and 1 box, so that I could put physical boxes against each other instead of variables. Because if you use variables against each other, it never works. So if you put a box in a box, you put a field in a field, and you pit them against each other, if is empty, or if this box is equal to this box or is not equal to this box, that works every time. It works every time. Don't be afraid to put more boxes in and then just hide them. And how you hide them is like I did this right here. Or like if we exit that, look at all these boxes that are down here. There's payroll date, error box, and then this box, which is the product code box, right? We didn't even know that product code box was there because the print color is the same as the bottom, the box. There's no fill, there's no line. So it's easy enough. You have plenty of space to put them. And the box can be like this big. But if it's not on the page, it's empty. FYI, if it's not on the page, it's empty. If it's not on your page. So if you build this layout twice, let's say I copied this layout and I got rid of these boxes, and then I said if payroll date is empty, well, guess what? Payroll date is empty. If this box is not on that other page, it's empty. According to FileMaker, it is empty. So remember that always. One other big thing I want to talk about is keeping it simple. You guys know that. I've said that a million times. Keep it simple. Don't get too involved and make it as crazy as you can. Try and keep it as simple as you can. What I like to do is build my whole system, if I could. With you guys, I had to kind of build it as I went along, but I like to build everything and then write scripts for those buttons that I want. So it's easier to build the whole thing, get it all what you want it to look like and where you want it to be, and then start writing your scripts. Say, well, I want this to do this and I want this to do that, and go from there. It does make it easier to do that. Another big thing: never use clear field as a script thingy. If you're writing a script, do not use clear the field or clear a field, because if you do that, it will mess everything up. I mean, it'll mess it up bad. So don't ever use that. That's one thing I've learned. I don't know if it's the same on like 15 and 16, but I know it's the same as on 12 and 13 and 14. If you use clear field, your data, you're going to lose a lot of data that way in a very quick hurry. So please don't use that. Instead, set field. So when you're doing a thing, you always see me set field and then just parentheses, because, or quotation marks, I'm sorry, because that sets it at 0. It sets it, it clears it. There's nothing in there. But if you type in clear field, and I think it's called clear field. I've only ever used it once. That was clear. It just messes with all kinds of things. So don't use it. Just take my advice. Don't use that. Always use halt script at the end of every single script. If you guys are doing a script, at the end of this script, 73, there's a halt script. This may seem like a really super long script, but it's really not, because you'll see a halt script here. You'll see a halt script here. You'll see a halt script up here. It's little tiny scripts that are all put on top of each other. So at any point, if any of these don't work out, there's a halt script. So this one's just like if, so it'll jump that one. Here's one that says if, that'll jump that one. So it's actually just a bunch of little scripts that are stacked on top of each other. So we're good to go with that. And the very last thing that I want you guys to know is always think like an outsider when you're developing your solution. Always think like an outside user. You know, I have a benefit because I have Josh, and I have my wife, and I have my son, and I can say, hey, what do you think? Use this and try to find something. Use this and do this, or use that. You know, use it and do something. And the good part about it is if they're standing there with their arms crossed and they're going, I don't know what I'm doing, I have no clue, then you did something wrong. If you have to make it so that it's easy to use, and you have to make it so that someone else can understand it other than just yourself. Because I see a lot of scripts that people do that they make so complicated, or they make things so, I don't know, disguised, I guess you might say, that not just anybody could use it. So trying to keep it very open. One thing I actually thought about doing with mine was having a thing on here where if you were logged in, you know, if you clocked in, it would say Josh is clocked in. Because right now you have no clue that Josh is clocked in. You really don't. Did he clock in? I don't know. Did he not clock in? I don't know. The only way to truly find out would be to go, you'd have to be an administrator, and you'd have to physically take a look. You'd go to Josh's time card and you'd look. And you'd say, all right, well, none of these numbers down here are filled in, so he's clocked out. He hasn't clocked in for the day, right? Because remember all those numbers we were looking at down at the bottom? That's the only way right now you can tell that he's actually in or out. Okay. So, if there is absolutely anything I have forgotten or have not told you, I did want to say I think the biggest thing today was about the tab order. And I wanted to show you guys that really quick. So if you go into, if you're in Edit Layout, and it's in Layouts, Set Tab Order, well, see how this one, there's no tab, well, there's these tab orders, but you can clear them. In this particular one, I can delete, let's see, Layouts. What are you doing? Now it's locked up, dang thing. Delete. Delete, okay. There we go. Exit layout. Stop it. When they don't have tabs like this, it's such a pain in the butt. But always make sure that, I don't know why it's doing that. Well, dang, burned it. Stop it. It won't let me do absolutely anything. But if you have one where there are a bunch of fields and you set tab order, you can usually just clear the tab order And that's 9 out of 10 times that's the problem with the script. Is because the script will go to the number 1 tab. It'll go to number 1. Let's see. We'll tab this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Apparently I'm going to have to set tabs and then clear them all on this particular window. Okay. Now I set all the tabs. Now I wonder if it'll let me do it. Layout. Close. Exit. Dang, burned it. Why is it not doing it? Well, anyway, it hates me. That's what it is. Every now and then you have those weird issues, but the tab order is a very big deal when you're dealing with your scripts, because I have at 100 times in the past I've told a script to perform a find, set a field, perform find, and it's come to nothing, and I'm going, what in the heck is going on? It's because the tab order exists on that page. If you have a tab order, just get rid of it. You can easily click on a field if you want to. And with that, does time card do overtime? The time card can do overtime. It will tell you how many hours you worked. And you can always do, and it does it per day, USA refurb. So the time card will tell you per day what you used and what you didn't use. And I'm going to have to, unfortunately, I'm going to have to close that darn script. I don't know why it just did that, but it just did. Let me just do this and open. I did a backup of my file, by the way, but just in case, it's always a good idea to have the backup. But so if you're on a record, like a reports or a user data, you can, like user data, look how many records there are in here. You just go to your format or your records. Nope, you have to go into edit layout first, layouts, set tab order, and then it'll show all of them, and then you see this little field. I know you guys can't see it. I'm going to move it. But here it says clear all. Just clear them. Just clear all of them. No, there's nothing there. And you can say okay. I think what it was is the other one, that little window got locked. It was hidden underneath something, and that's the reason why I couldn't see it. But just clear them all, and you will find instantaneously. Like I have someone that keeps telling me the username isn't filling in. It's not filling. It's not transporting the data from one to another. And the reason why it's not doing that, I believe, is because of the user data. But anyway, guys, I think that was all I really wanted to go through today. No video tomorrow. Maybe on Tuesday. We should do a video on Tuesday. And we're going to finish this out. I'm pretty positive I'm almost completely done with this. I do have some last minute things I'm trying to work out with it. We've already done the inventory. This is the list inventory that's in the list. And this is, you can scan it if you want to. You can just go in, do the barcode thing and just scan your barcode. One of the big things that you have to understand is when you do scan a barcode, this scanner that I told you guys to buy, or that I said you should buy, when you use it, it will put an enter. So it'll be like that number and then an enter. It's okay, it's no big deal, but it's every time you have a barcode, it's going to be a 2-liner, just like this is. See how wide it is compared to like this, how narrow it is? That's the reason why, is because it'll do barcode enter, like barcode enter. This one, I think we took the enter off of, but it will, hopefully it will find it. Because it is, believe it or not, a part of the deal. So it's always going to be barcode enter, barcode enter, barcode enter. But you should be able to find all your product and all that neat stuff. So we did really well at doing that. We're going to go back. We did our scan in, which is it's an automatic, man. You scan it, it takes it right in for you. It takes you back to the admin if you wanted to go back to the admin. The only thing we haven't done is time card, or we haven't done contacts or employees, but no big deal. Those are things that any normal human being would be able to just create. So we would be good with that. User data, monitor, screen, inventory. The security is just going to be a list, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that on Tuesday. It's just going to be a list, basically, of every time someone ends up in the security vault, it's going to instantly give us some information and say, hey, these are times people have ended up in the security vault area. So, because if they push that button or they do anything from that page, it will automatically log it on our security window. And we can also add other things on our security window if we want to as well, but I'm trying to keep it simple. Keep it simple. All right, guys, thank you very much, USA, for watching me. Thanks for being here today to keep me busy. As I said, the big ones are try not to set script triggers autonomously. It can be done. If you want to know how to do it, I'll teach you how to do it. But try not to do it just because it does kind of mess things up. Clear all your tab orders. That was a big thing. Performing a script inside of a script must be part of the script. So just an extension of it, and you're just trying to save space in your script line. Or make it at the very end of a script where it can go do its thing. But it's always going to be an extension of your script. So if you say perform script inside of a script, just consider it chapter 2. Okay? So you better make sure that you have links there. Creating a global field, as you just saw, if you create a global field, as we did within our database, and I think it was under, what was it under? The monitor? Nope. Well, I know we got one in the user database. So creating a global field like this, global storage field, it will populate every single one of them. So for every record that you have, every line of record that you have in a list view, that global data will be there. And then so you'll have to erase it and fill it. Erase it and fill it. Erase it and fill it. And if you're a person that you're scanning a bunch of different records and you're an administrator, it's a good idea to have one. Let me know if you need to know more information about the global field. Always make sure to take data with you when you go from file to file. Keeping it very simple. Never use the clear field button. Always use a halt script at the end of all of your scripts. And always, always, always think like an outside user would when you're developing your program. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Drop me a line. I answer them. I see them. And I'm always replying to you guys. So thanks you. And we'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys later. Bye.